Hello and welcome to my review of the Deimos pattern Rhino for the Legiones Astartes for Warhammer the Horus Heresy from Games Workshop. Now this Deimos pattern Rhino will cost you £28 and consists of 102 plastic components. Now I have many of these now and I absolutely love them. I'm a big fan of rhinos in general and these ones. Perhaps I don't quite agree with the change of rules to have 12 Space Marines in there, because it was a long running joke that like Space Marines were squashed in there like sardines in a tin when there were only 10, but now to have 12, if it's not broke don't fix it. I think they could have kept with 10. Maybe they wanted to sell more rhinos, maybe they wanted to say, oh, you can put your Praetor in there as well. The fact that, like, I say Space Marines are bigger, I can't really say that because I've got iron armor and I've got Mark 6 and they're the same height. The proportions are a little bit different, but then when you look at like we're doing a size comparison straight away, sorry guys, but when you look at like a big Praetor like this, and then you've got supposedly 11 more of these fellas fitting in that tank. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it includes the driver and then there's a passenger as well, but even so I'd probably like say 6, maybe 7 max. Definitely not 12. Anyway, I just thought I'd hit the ground running on that point. The format of this review, as usual, is I'll have a good look at the model. We'll go through all of the spare parts. We'll go through a load of size comparisons. I've got so many tanks and things on here right now. Then I will go through all of its rules, which will probably be like the simplest part of the review. So let's have a look at the model itself. Go through how kind of easy it was to build. I think it's the most popular model that they've released so far in Horus Heresy, for plastic at least. It always seems to be out of stock online. Well, this and the Mark 4 and Mark 3 Space Marine box sets, those three seem to be the most popular. Like the Kratos was sold out at the very start, so was the Rhino, but they, in the second wave, kind of last week or so, they stocked many more Kratoses. And let's face it, you're always going to need Rhinos. You're probably only going to need 1 or 2 Kratoses, or in the case of myself 3. But still, it's a really nice kit. One of the main USPs, the unique selling points, is, and I'm currently hunting for it right now, is a particular sprue, and I've named it the Deimos Rhino accessory sprue, and you'll now find it in all of your Horus Heresy tank box sets in plastic. So I think it will come in the Spartan box set, where you'll be able to build a Proteus as well. It comes in the Kratos, it'll come in the Sakaran, it'll come in the Predator. I really kind of wish that they would bundle this plastic sprue in with the big Fellblade kits, like the £200 Fellblade kits. You know, considering the price increase as well, they were about 194 or so, and then the price increase shot them past 200. It wouldn't be that much of an issue. Upgrade sprue is one of the main reasons why you'd get the kit. Forget the Rhino, right? You've got a dozer blade there, you've got the Havoc launcher, you've got a multi-melter, heavy bolter, heavy flamer, all the combi weapons to shake your sticks at, including the Volkite Caliver? I always get them mixed up. You get the hatches as well, you get the searchlight, you get the Hunter Killer missile launcher, you even get 3 Space Marine heads as trophies for your Night Lord's Rhino. I mean, to go on the body that you can have of the Space Marine in Mark 2 Crusade armor. What's this about? You get your smoke launchers, things like that. So really nice upgrade sprue. That's the end of the review. I'm joking. Right, so how does this compare to the other Rhinos that are currently available? Well, I come from an era where Rhinos were, I'd like to say £10, but I might be completely off there. They were probably closer to 15, with the Razorback being £17.50, maybe 20 or £18, something like that. Either way, it was a little bit more, and there were two kits. There was a Rhino kit and a Razorback kit. Then at some point they amalgamated the Razorback upgrade sprue and things and put it in the Rhino kit. All that upgrade sprue does, though, really is just add a pair of heavy bolters. So it's not really anything to... All that upgrade sprue does is just add a lot of spaces in between parts. No, it adds a heavy bolt, twin-link heavy bolt and a twin-link las cannon for the Razorback, as well as some strange metal cabling and a dozer blade and some fuel packs and an ammo box as well. But they then bumped up the price, obviously, to the £30, and that's what you get. Yes, it's painful to look at the Systems of Battle Rhino at £35 for a Rhino. You know, the Chaos Rhino is £30. It's the same price as the normal Space Marine, but that one is out of stock a lot of the time. But that one does have a lot of bang for your buck, because you get like a Chaos upgrade sprue in that one with all the dozer blades and the Havoc launchers, and you get some spiky bits and things like that. So you get 4 sprues in that kit, and it's still an alright kit actually. I finally managed to get my hands on one, I think through the Imperium magazine or something. But needless to say, this Deimos pattern Rhino is the cheapest, so if you just want to pick up a Rhino, this is the cheapest way to do it, and it's a great way of picking up that upgrade sprue if you don't fancy spending lots of points on a Rhino and slapping on a pintle mounted heavy multi-melter. You can always buy the kit it out the way you want, and then use that upgrade sprue to upgrade, I don't know, say your 40k tanks. Like if you've got any Land Raiders laying around, you put a multi-melter on them or something like that. But anyway, this is the Rhino itself. It's a Deimos pattern. Don't let that fool you. Just because it's a Deimos pattern and it's got the Horus Heresy box art and things like that, Deimos is the planet. It's like I think it's a Forge World. But either way, it's that pattern of Rhino. There were lots and lots of different patterns of Rhinos, so don't think that, oh, it's Horus Heresy, I must pick this Rhino. Some people like it, some people don't. Some people prefer the sort of, I say, newer Rhinos. You got to remember, back then technology was better, and over 10,000 years it's got worse. So there is that. What I'm trying to get at is, if you've got Rhinos from 40k, such as these, I think this is a Mars pattern, if anything, you can still use this. So I would be perfectly fine, once I've repaired my horrible paint job on that, I would be perfectly fine to use that in my game of Horus Heresy. They are exactly the same size. You know, the tracks match up, they're the same height. The difference is the exhausts, obviously. You know, this one's got a Havoc launcher on, and the twin and the combi bolter. This one's got a storm bolter. This one's got a nice flap that you can play with. It's always nice. But apart from that, they're very similar. This one even looks like it's got like extra armor that overlaps, which is cool. The smoke launchers are, I'd say, way better on the newer kit. But yeah, that's what I'm getting at, is that you can use your old 40k Rhinos in Horus Heresy. I just think this one looks nicer. I prefer this one, and I prefer it to go with like the Contemptor and Mark III Space Marines that I'm putting together. So the kit itself, very nice, great tolerances. I love what they've done with the tracks. I think they're brilliant. The one thing I will say that I had issues with is the rear ramp. It's very tight. Usually I like it when it's tight, tighter the better, but in this case, for this model, that's not the case. It's too tight, painfully so. You really have to, well, you can't really open the flap without a lot of straining and pressure, and you don't want to, you know, put too much pressure on the side components. Whereas, you know, the 40k one, you just need to blow it and it flaps open for you, and it still holds the ramp as well. So obviously fully painted and things inside. I mean, why wouldn't it be? But yeah, that just goes to show you that, you know, although I like the kit and it was decent to build, you might have flap issues. So let's have a look at the spare parts then. So I'm pretty sure when I did this Rhino, I didn't really have many spare parts other than this sprue. I know I can already see the Havoc launcher there, but for speed, I think I left all the spare parts on the sprue. So if you've built yours exactly the same as mine, you know, without using the heads and the pintle mounted weapons, you will have used kind of two cupola doors. You'll have used the Havoc launcher and the pintle and the combi bolters, and that's it. You know, you'll still have the pintle mounted 3 weapons, the heavy flamer, the multi-melt and the heavy bolter. You'll still have all the combi weapons, combi plasma as well. You'll still have all the combi weapons. You'll have the 3 heads, you'll have the torso, you'll have the hunter killer missile as well, and the searchlight. So you'll still have pretty much almost a full sprue if you kit it out like this, which is great. So this kit is brilliant for, you know, cannibalizing this sprue, selling this sprue separately, or even cannibalizing the sprue for your other existing models that you've never really paid much love to. Size comparisons then. I'm going to start off with some vehicles, in particular tanks. So the one I'd like to compare it to firstly is the Kratos, the heavy assault tank. It's right here. They both came out at the same time, so I'd probably say it's worth me doing a comparison with them. I have a number of both of these tanks now. I absolutely love them. They work pretty well with each other. If you wanted like a narrative army of like a mechanized army troop, a mechanized kind of force where you had a couple of Kratoses, I know that's expensive, and then you had your troops and your other choices in Rhinos, that would look quite fun on the field. And you didn't want to bother with Contemptors. I don't know why you would. I don't know why you do that, but yeah, this would still look fantastic. You know, having a couple of these or even one of these and a few Rhinos with your troops nice and safe. So that's where it stands next to a Kratos. Kratos is a pretty large tank. It's a heavy tank. And I wanted to just show you that. The next one I wanted to show you it with is actually a Sakaran. We'll do the Spartan shortly, but here is a Sakaran. Sakaran is, although it's a fast tank, it's an assault tank, it is a fair bit bigger than a Rhino. I'm not sure on the prices of these when they come out in plastic. My best guess is probably 45-50, because it's only the OG Sakaran, it's only the one with the autocannons on there. So I don't think they should be pricing it any more than 50 odd, really. But you never know. So just goes to show you that even the very fast tank, I think this is like 14 inches or something, maybe even 16, just compare that to a Rhino. It's still quite a big tank, even though you kind of think in your head, oh, Sakarans, they're kind of small. No, they're pretty decent size. And speaking of pretty decent sizes, let's compare it to a Spartan. I'm not going to compare. Speaking of decent sizes, let's compare it to a Spartan. Now, Spartan is much, much bigger. You know, you're comparing your capacity here of 12 Space Marines in the Rhino with 26 in the Spartan. You're getting more than double in the Spartan, and it just goes to show that the Spartan really is that transport for your unit of 10 Terminators, and a few more actually. But yeah, we're also comparing the, you know, Rhinos quite low armor rating of 11 on the front and sides and 10 to the 14 all around for both the Kratos and the Spartan. You know, the Rhino is one job really, and that's to give a bit more protection to your 10 or 12 Space Marines and get them to objectives quickly. Quicker than if they were moving by foot, whereas the other two offer more specific roles in the game, and they're way more expensive. This is kind of cheap and cheerful. It is easy to fall into a false sense of security of seeing a couple of these Rhinos about, but you don't know what's really in them. There could be 10 cheeky little Dark Angel Interemptors. There could be 10 heavy support squads with las cannons or plasma cannons. Depends on if it's your birthday or not. So they are very capable, despite their size. Right, so let's do some comparisons with other toys. So we've got the Leviathan Dreadnought and a Contemptor. Both big dreadnoughts. I mean, the Leviathan especially is really quite big compared to the Rhino there. With troops, I have a Primarch. Maybe you could fit, I've got a Praetor, we've got the Terminator. Terminators can't go in the Rhino, but just for sizes. And then a Mark 6 Space Marine, which it will be ferrying about. It'll be ferrying 10 of these. You've got this Praetor as well. I don't know why I've got both Praetors out here at the moment. I just have. And then I just want to compare it to 40k miniatures. So we have Primaris, they're not allowed in those, and a Space Marine, and then Slime Marbo. So it's pretty much Rhino sized. Like if you've got a Rhino, a Mars pattern or whatever, you know, you're used to the size of Rhinos by now. Okay, and the final part of my review will involve me going through all of the rules for the Rhino. You'll find it in the dedicated transport section, which is nestled quite nicely between troops and fast attack. Makes sense. Its point cost is 35 points, which is very, very cheap. I think that's only 15 points more than a multi-melter, for instance, and you're getting a full transport tank. Its movement is 14 inches, which is very decent. You know, that is double the movement speed of your normal Space Marines, so you'll be able to transport them in half the time, I guess. The ballistic skill is 4, the front armour is 11, side armour 11, and rear armour is 10. It's got 3 hull points and the transport capacity is 12. Yeah, really odd that. I think they just want to sell more Rhinos that way, but you know, compared to 40k, it's 10. This model may only be selected as a dedicated transport for another unit and may not be selected as a separate unit. So you don't have like a dedicated transport slot on your force organisations, or you can't just buy, you know, 20 Rhinos. You can't just pay the points for 20 Rhinos and be silly and spend 700 points on 20 multi-melters. You see where I'm coming from? Can't do that. It's got to be as part of a unit. War gear, pintle mounted twin linked bolter, smoke launchers. Special rules, Legiones Extartes, repair, infantry transport. A Legion Rhino transport has 1 access point on each side of the hull and 1 at the rear. So that's something that people sometimes overlook, is Space Marines don't have to come out of the rear. They can come out the sides. There are doors there. You know, use that to your advantage. You can use the troop transport. You can use the troop transport to block line of sight and have your Space Marines come out 1 door, and then you've got, you know, cover there from the tank. The options: it may take any of the following: 1 hull front mounted Hunter Killer Missile for 5 points, it's quite cheap. Searchlights for 5 points, Dozer Blade for 5 points. May take one of the following: twin linked bolter for 5 points, a pintle mounted combi weapon for 10 points, a pintle mounted havoc launcher for 15, which mine has, I'm regretting that about now, a heavy bolter for 10, heavy flamer for 5, or a pintle mounted multi-melter for 30 points. Almost the cost of the Rhino itself. You're almost doubling the cost by buying a multi-melter for it. It's going to cost you 65 points. It's expensive. It looks cool, don't get me wrong, it does look cool, but yeah. So, they are all the rules for the Rhino transport. It does what it says on the tin. It will transport your 12 Space Marines about in relative safety. I mean, autocannons, Kiri's assault cannons, anything that will rend it and you know, knock off those hull points quite quick. If your opponent wants to waste 5 las cannon shots on it, it's just gonna blow it up quite quick, but it might be worth blowing up because you might have 10 cheeky little interemptors in there, but who knows. I really like the Rhino, and I'm so chuffed that they've made this Deimos pattern Rhino, and I tell you why. It's alright getting a new fancy tank like the Kratos, but what this Rhino signifies is it's a brand new base tank that's really well designed and made with very strict tolerances, and it's the base for other Rhino chassis vehicles such as your Whirlwinds, your Scorpius, your Predators. The Predator tank will have these sprues in with it. It's anything that has this chassis, essentially. So it's great news. It's as great news as the Land Raider Spartan in plastic, because you've got the potential of possibly making plastic Cerberus and plastic Typhons, and definitely the Proteus is going to be part of the Spartan kit. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed for an Achilles Land Raider. So this is a really nice kit, and what it means for future models brings a smile to my face as well. But what do you guys think of the Rhino? Are you a fan of it, of its looks, or do you prefer the old school 40k ones, which I've already mentioned you can use in Horus Heresy? Nothing stopping anyone doing that. Please do put your thoughts and opinions down below. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.